All right, guys, a little bit of a different video for retro repairs because this by no means is retro, but you know, we go where the work is. What do we have here? We have a friend of mine tells me his computer is running hot. What does that mean when you guys hear that? My computer is running hot. It's just running hot. It's not doing anything. It's running hot. It's overheating. It does overheat. It does blue screen. It does error out. Great. What goes through your mind? Could be clogged vents. Could be bad thermal paste. Maybe some fans aren't working. Maybe the liquid cooler's not working. Then they bring me this. And right away, it's a high-end laptop. It's a ZBook. The world of mobile workstation laptops and gaming laptops, you're used to these high temperatures, 70 Celsius, 80 Celsius. You wouldn't see those in desktops, but it's a laptop. So when I saw this, I'm like, there's your problem, although it may not be a problem. So what are we doing here, HP? HP ZBook. We have some thermal paste. We got some laptop tools, HP on their high end. They use a star bit because of course they do. I've already gone through and I've loosened all of these. The nice thing on the ZBook is, just for time's sake, this is it. There's no ones underneath the keyboard, nothing. So you undo all your little screws, take your little wedge, go in. There's nothing else here. And you take this off. Sometimes maybe people think, oh, there's more. Just make sure they're all loose and then, yeah, you remove it. There's nothing else, which is one nice thing. Now we're on the inside of the laptop here. This is your pretty much standard build, and we're going to flip this like this. And we're gonna look to see if we can figure out what our issue is, if any. Well, if it's dirty, we can do a little bit of cleaning, and if it needs thermal paste, we'll do that too, and we might as well do both because when we take off this. So what's going on if you don't know? So here's where our GPU and our CPU chips are. I'm not sure which is which. Sometimes they're labeled, although on this they're not, but they may be labeled on the motherboard, but they should be labeled when we clean them off. One should probably say NVIDIA and one should say Intel. Here's your chips. They're under here. They're squeezed down with these. Typically some people will see an X bracket, but since these are right next to each other, boom. So then you have your pieces of copper. These are normally painted copper that go around. These are your bars that pull the heat. And then there's another block with radiator fins here. And this is how they cool. So the fans will suck in air out of the bottom through these vents right here, which is interesting because do these sit right over the fans? Yeah, more or less they do. Sometimes laptops will have most of the fan like here, just a little piece there. So they'll suck in the cold air. They'll blow the cold air across these giant pieces of metal with the fins to make them cooler, and since these blocks get cooler, it'll keep pulling heat from there to here, and that's how they cool. This is an interesting design because sometimes these chips are further apart, that way the heat from each other don't cross over. But this is interesting because they're right next to each other and actually the same bar from each fan. Like this does not have a designated CPU or GPU fan. The same piece goes across both chips. Interesting. Don't think it matters. I just haven't seen that often. But you know, I don't do work in a lot of laptops because, well, you know, I hate to break it to you, they're laptops. So what sometimes gets dirty in these, if we're going to look at this and we're just going to look at the fans, the obvious part is the fan blades themselves. And yeah, you can see they're pretty dusty. That happens because they're sucking in air. But sometimes the part between the fan and the fins will get just packed with hair and with dust. So it's important to clean the fins too. Now, newer laptops, especially performance ones, they've done things to try to help prevent this by putting on a shroud, or sometimes it's even tape that will cover where the fan meets the block, meets the fins. That way it prevents things from getting in there, which is really nice. It's kind of what we see here, and it looks taped down really well. But that's fine. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the heat sink and we're gonna reapply some thermal paste. Now, of course, because now you're inside and you don't need to have these security screws, you've just got Phillips in here. But which kind of Phillips? Let's get P2 and let's see if P2 is too big. No, P2 will fit just fine. So we'll use iFixit, really nice. But so what are we gonna do? We're gonna take these off, clean, and we'll blow out the fans. Really simple. All right, here we go. The magic of fast forward. All right, I did the fan screws as well because this might come out as one piece. Sometimes if the laptop is really cooked through that thermal paste, these will feel like they're glued down. Depends on the age of the laptop. It depends on the age of the paste. Now you also want to be careful because the fans will be plugged in, and sometimes these fan headers are super small and super delicate. And if you bust them, you're in trouble. Now, I haven't removed the fan wiring yet because I wanted to see how easily these come out. Okay, this came out pretty nice. So I'm going to go ahead and get the fans unplugged. We're going to use a tweezers probably for that because we don't want to put pressure on the wire. We want to make sure we grab the head. And also, excuse me, sometimes people will rip the actual connectors off of the board as well, which is just a little bit of a nightmare. But in this case, we're just gonna grab the black piece, not the white connector. Come on, there we go. And the whole assembly unit is able to be removed, and we're just gonna flip it. Okay, definitely we had some dirt build up on these fans, but not too bad. It's to be expected. And let's flip this unit over and we can talk about what's going on here because they're using some multiple methods here. So we have our thermal paste, which to be honest is not great covering. Sometimes it's cheap from the factory. We have some areas where there's little paste or no paste. Now, sometimes people will just look at that, but you want to make sure you correlate with where they were touching, but you can see there's gapped areas on both. And then what are going on here, a lot of times people, these are thermal pads. So these are still going to a piece of metal to go on top of chips or things like that. And they're not as good as thermal paste, but again, what's everything doing here? It's just conducting heat. So sometimes to keep it clean. Now, thermal paste is non-conductive, so you don't have to worry about using too much really. And why do sometimes people are confused? What's the point of thermal paste? And if you're trying to keep something cool, why are you slathering it in a putty type paste? And some are really, the new Arctic Silvers are almost not viscous at all. Why are you doing that instead of just metal on metal? And that's because of imperfections. So your metal, although it's made, and your chip, they're not perfectly flush. So when you do connect the two together, like when you put your hands together like this, do you see those little gaps in there? And guys, if you know, sorry, you know. But so you would have not good connectivity there. So by putting that layer of paste in there, when you smush it, it will fill the imperfections on both sides, which then means you have better transfer. Let's touch this putty. Yeah, it's mostly dry. It's just pretty much rock hard. That's to be expected, I guess. Older stuff. It's what happens. So first thing we have to do, we have to clean the old paste. That's the thing. We're going to use 99.9% isopropyl alcohol. In the US at least, you can pick this up typically at the drugstore. There's no bans on it or anything like that. I know sometimes overseas you guys can't get as pure, or it might be harder. Sometimes it's medical only. But even here, I mean, you go into your local Walgreens or CVS and they have at least 90%. You want to use as pure as possible, because that means it's 99% alcohol with 1% water. You don't want to have a lot of water. You don't want to rust pieces. You don't want to conduct. You don't want to just damage anything. And then also the speed at which this evaporates is really nice. So this is how I do it. I put on Q-tip, kind of soak it really good, and just get it on both to get it working. Again, it's really important to clean it up, because that is how we're going to do it. And you have to clean both the chip and where it will touch. Now, don't worry about when you apply the paste, I'll show you, but you don't have to apply the paste on both sides. So I'm just gonna be cleaning, and then we'll get back to it. All right, and there you go. And you saw at the end there, I was just using a dried Q-tip just to go over, dry it up, pick up any residue, and you can see that now they're coming off pretty clean, which is really, really good. We're going to take this can of compressed air and we're going to blow out these fans. Yep. Filled with dust, shocker. We'll blow the fins. Woo. Oh, really dirty. All right. Maybe we'll wipe those areas off. So, just like I talked about, if you haven't seen, there was hair in there too. Here's how the fins look, right? So it's just it's any type, like even on your air conditioner, radiator in a car, they're just fins like that to help dissipate the air and pull the heat, and dissipate the air and pull the heat. Let's just clean up this where there's some dirt and debris here. Listening to that can of compressed air just hissing away. We'll just dry this up with the dried part of the Q-tip, and then we're going to get to the thermal paste application. Now, people sometimes are a little bit crazy about how much thermal paste and what's the correct amount. So here's the shocker. It really doesn't matter if you put too much paste, because again, it's non-conductive. So if you don't know what you're doing, it's safer to put more than to put less. Now, the old rule of thumb was, hey, take a pea-size amount of paste, squeeze it kind of in the middle, and then it will smush down. Now, obviously, this is more of a rectangular piece here, so you would do more of a longer pea, and you'd squish it down. That works most of the time, especially with laptops. because these chips are typically smaller like this. Where it doesn't work now though is with a lot of newer desktops and still just a lot of chips in general, because the chips have gotten so big that when you put a pea-size amount down and you squeeze it down, it doesn't cover or it leave gaps. So a lot of the thermal paste now do give you a little applicator that it's basically a spatula that you're gonna, just spread it out on there with. And that's what we'll do. It's what I like to do. Even if you put the perfect amount of paste in the middle and you smush it down, it may not smush to the edges, it may leave gaps. It's just easier to just come back with your spatula and spread it out and cover the entire chip, that's all. Especially too, this is new paste. It's quite thick. You don't need to worry about making it perfectly even. We're not icing a cake here, but we are looking for complete coverage. And again, it's non-conductive, so if it goes over the edge, even if it were to come in here and go over all of these things here, it's not going to do anything. Now, it could cause something to overheat that maybe needs to be airflowed, and now all of a sudden you've caked on a ton of cake batter onto it. But that's the trouble that we'd be looking at is, you covered something that needs to, air cool. Not, you've all of a sudden shorted out 5 chips together. That's not going to happen, thankfully. And we're going to see if we get lesser temps. Of course, I don't know what's on this computer. I think this is the one he uses for work. So I don't know how much we'll be able to show you, how much I want to blur out or just be done. And so this one's nice. When it squeezes, it will cover it really nice. Now, the old Arctic Silver, like 3 and stuff, that was so wet. It was so much easier to work with. Now with the stuff, they've made them so thick because apparently it conducts better. Most thermal paste guys conduct relatively close together. Liquid metal will connect cooler, and I know sometimes people want to really go and do liquid metal, but I'll tell you, it's dangerous. That is connected, does continuity, so if you spill it, you'll short, you'll fry the board. It's not good news. That's what it is, not good. Okay, but I'll tell you, with the non-super liquid thermal paste, putting stuff down has become way easier. This goes like that. Lined everything up. What is this? Oh, it's a little QR code. Looks like it overheated at one point. Could have been for the fan, could have been for a chip. Kind of irrelevant. All right, we've kind of soft put everything in place. Where is your friend and mine, Mr. Screwdriver? We're going to do the chips first, and we're going to cross thread, bink, 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 then come back, bink, 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 because we just want to squeeze it out. But I always like to just push down to begin with. All right, here we go. Put that in just a little bit. Put that in just a little bit. Put this in just a little bit. If you ever replace thermal paste on a PlayStation 3, then you're familiar with the big clamp system, and that was a really bad cooling system because I went to a giant cooling block. But you're familiar with cross-threading that thing to make sure it goes in good. So we put them all in about halfway. Now we're going to go back in the same order, cross-thread, and torque them down. Just hand tight to when they give resistance. And this thing is going to cool much better. A lot of the times, guys, gaming laptops, unfortunately, have really poor thermal paste applied from the factory. It's just, it is what it is, I guess. You know, I wish I could say why. I don't know. It is what it is. So we're going to put these fan screws back in. And then we'll physically plug the fans in last. Now, we haven't done anything to this computer to make it questionable if it would boot or not. So we will put the bottom back on, and we will turn it, especially because the fans are on the bottom here and we don't want to clip anything. Let's say we didn't apply enough thermal paste, or we didn't put the heatsink back on enough. The laptop should still turn on. It should spike in heat, and then it would probably shut itself off due to overheating. Okay, where's our little tweezers here to pick these up and line them up and then push them in. And it's really important that we seat these all the way in, because the fans will not work unless they're plugged in all the way. Okay, they look good. Where's that bottom? Oh man. We don't need P2 anymore. We need our little star bit. Hopefully this wasn't too boring, everyone. I know this is not the retro game repair and you guys are used to seeing, but it's something that was here and I thought we would just do it. Might just do it. Let's clip this in. Mobile workstation. Yes, that's true. I'm just holding this in my hand, guys, and spinning it around to get all the, what do I even want to call it? These plastic tabs in. That way we can screw them down. That's all. People always ask, how do you put the stuff on? How do you take the stuff off that has plastic tabs without snapping a tab? Yeah, you do it kind of gently, but if anyone's worked on a laptop, the old Dell Latitudes used to have it, and this is typically where you see it. They had a little tab where you would pry, where after you undid all the screws, that is where you would put your little pick or your flathead screwdriver, and it was a special lip that then you could pop the back off with, which was really cool. They got rid of that, so no one has that. So undoubtedly, you're going to scratch the case a little bit. It's just the cost of doing business. There's no way around it, unfortunately. Man. One more. What is going on here? Let's hope there's some battery on this. I don't even know. Pin 6446. Okay. Great. Rolling. Let's turn it on. See what happens. Protected by HP Sure Start. Okay, good. Dell's got like Safe Start. You've got Sure Start. I heard some noise. Also, the monitor is dirty from where we blew it out. 6446. We're in. And it's some guy on a boat. Very nice. Okay. Let's see if we can get some temps. So he was saying just before, when he just turned it on, it would be running super warm right off the rip. And awesome. All right. And I saw screenshots. So he would start Windows and right away his GPU, his NVIDIA would be at 60 Celsius idle on the operating system. And right now we're at 39. So it'll probably heat up 40, 41. That, guys, is a great job. Well done. I wonder if I make Task Manager full screen. Yeah. Perfect. And over here, we have the Quadro P2000 card, and we're in the low 40s, which is much better than the 60s that we were at before. So that's a big deal. Even if I cover the vents just to feel the type of air coming out of there. It is nice hot air, so it's conducting really good. And before, he said he would feel the air and it wouldn't even be that hot. So this is a good job. And even covering the vents doesn't make the temperature skyrocket. We've done a good fix here, guys. Take it easy. All right.